was waiting for the question. You know that the studies say, the polls show that in countries, 50% population doesn't know that the nuclear is a low carbon technology. So I think this is one of the messages what we constantly presenting and wanted to show to the society and bring this message across.
Great. So thank you so much. All right, so we're going to take a couple of questions.
There are other questions.
Great. So we had one question, and this was specifically for Jill from NREL, and she'll really want to do that for. So the question is, when speaking on plans or areas of interest, it seems quite diverse. The analysis, seminars, webinars, case studies, elements of communication strategy. What would you say are the priorities or the current focus? Or do you plan to expand this in all directions?
All right, thank you for the question. So we've started with a nice program focused on the webinars and outreach to get people aware that the program is going and what we're doing, and making people aware of existing studies that have gone on in the past, in recent years. Then we're going to be moving on to case studies. We're going to actually be working with different countries to develop case studies of where they are with their policy, where they are with technologies, what lessons learned we can learn from different approaches. And then we're actively starting to discuss with about more in-depth technical analysis. We will have to get some additional funding for this from the different participating countries and different organizations that are interested in that modeling analysis that I showed about how you can integrate the different technologies together. So staged approach leading from the simple to the more in-depth technical analysis.
Sorry, if I could just add to that. Part of the beauty of the Nice Future Initiative is that it is driven by the interests of the participant countries. So if there is a particular interest from, say, Russia, who is one of our participant countries, they can lead that particular activity. Or Romania could say, well, we're really interested in this particular webinar or workshop or hosting an event. So the three lead countries are not dictating what exactly the activities will be. We have made some ideas, which is why we've started with the communications and outreach, but it really is participant driven.
Thank you. Okay. So another question, and these are great questions, and if there are others, please feel free to raise your hand and get a card. This question is about the emissions life cycle of nuclear, and it's a pretty general question of what is the climate impact of nuclear power plants?
Yeah, that's my question.
It is your question. Do you want to clarify?
Can I clarify? Yes, because we read in some of the reports that they only look at the carbon emissions from the nuclear power plants, not the life cycle. And we also know that we have in Finland 10 years of efforts to try and make a safe, secure place for putting the waste, but that they haven't been able to do that technically yet, and that it's costing them many billions. We also work, and I'm here representing also the Women and Gender constituency, so worldwide, all the women's organizations who are here are we represent them, and we're very concerned about the impacts on indigenous women, because we see that the mines and the places where the waste go are often in areas where you have vulnerable people, indigenous people. We had a presentation from South Africa. People are getting ill there, they're not protected, and mines are polluting their groundwater. So even though you might be able to have all the solutions with water, the water is being polluted. Here in Germany, in Dresden, they are trying to close the uranium mine in such a way that it will not pollute the drinking water. It's costing them more than €3 billion just to close the mine. So I think the main question is the climate impact is very narrowly measured, and the economic and social and health impacts and what it's doing to vulnerable people is not being measured, and the costs for that are also not being taken into account and are competing with the real alternative, which could really reduce CO2, like solar. One nuclear power plant in France, €5 billion, you could build 100 million solar installations. So the comparison is who are we focusing on, and who are we trying to
I
help?
want to make sure we get a chance to
Yeah,
answer.
so-
It's a lot
right.
of questions. Okay,
That's-
so
that's-
do you have okay, I'll try and pick out a couple.
Yes.
So we had a couple of different points in there. One was about the life cycle emissions of nuclear and how that compares to other technologies.
I quickly do the life cycle analysis. Of course, the life cycle analysis is a life cycle analysis, and that means we go from the uranium mining through the construction, operation, all the way to decommissioning, waste management. Everything is included in all these numbers. And we do the same for wind and solar. Coming from Vattenfall, we're head of environment, we did this for all energy sources, and absolutely that has to be fair, scientific, factual comparison, and it is.
But have you taken into account that you don't have a solution for the waste yet?
That's all calculated because there is good descriptions of how to make these solutions, there are technical descriptions, there are approved solutions, and so on, so it's all in there, definitely.
And we know from Finland.
So thank you.
I have
So
one
we-
comment to this. If the fossil fuel industry would take care of their waste as good as the nuclear industry does, I think we will be having a better world.
I would be happy to introduce you to our friends from Russia who work in areas where they're bringing the waste. I mean, for the people who live there, it's a disaster, right? So it's not like comparing one good or one bad thing. You really have to take a human rights approach to this.
We're gonna have more people trying to answer some of these questions.
So I want to make a point from an industry standpoint as an operator. So we've calculated our footprint and we came up to the conclusion that we've managed to save 150 million tons of CO2 emissions over the life of our two reactors, meaning 1,400 megawatt capacity over the works of 20 years. And I want to pull out some numbers of how these compare with other plants and CO2 emissions per gigawatt hour. And nuclear has had a mean of, over the life cycle, a mean of 29 CO2 per gigawatt hour. Whereas when compared with solar panel, and we're also taking into consideration footprint and affection and also affection of soil, that compares at 85. Hydroelectric comes in slower than us and we're at 26. So that's just some numbers.
There are add something real quick. You're obviously someone that cares a lot about public safety and the environment and future generations, right? Is that right? Yeah. Me too. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm not rehearsing for an opera somewhere in the U.S. right now. That's why I quit that to start a nonprofit because I realized, like you do, that we're at a special time in history right now where we have to make some tough decisions about how to bring energy to people in a safe way that has the smallest impact that we can possibly manage. And that's actually what brought me to nuclear. I saw the life cycle analysis from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, their 2014 study, this cradle to grave, and came up with 12 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, a fourth of even solar. I saw the analyses of the mining intensity of different clean energy sources and realized that if we would pursue a 100% renewables scenario, it would require at least 20 times the raw materials we would have to mine for all of the copper, all the silver, the tellurium, concrete, steel, all of that stuff. And at least 100 times the land requirements. As an environmentalist, I'm not going to do that. I can't agree with that. That's habitat. That's where animals need to live, and we shouldn't be covering it with electronics and mining everything. We have to be open-minded and clear-minded and think with our heads and our hearts here. We can't. let our ideology get in the way.
And I wanted to get to one other question that was similar along the lines of my friend's question here. There was another question about specifically, we're hoping to get to a lot of questions that other people had too. And this one is somewhat along the lines of that you were asking. Someone specifically referenced kind of people's comfort level, and we're asking about Fukushima and the trajectory that Japan is taking and kind of the public stance on nuclear in the current climate. Frank, anything you want to say about that, given the research that you've done?
So I think according to Asahi News, about 60% of the Japanese population are against nuclear, but the Abe administration is very for returning the nuclear power plants online. So under their recently released basic energy plan, they plan for 20 to 22% nuclear power by 2030, and a lot of that's concerns from the industry that they need electricity to sustain their economic activity. So there is different viewpoints depending whether you're from civil society or from industry or from government. It's not clear if we'll get to that 20% target. It's very likely that a lot of the citizen groups will actually stop that because they can bring up local lawsuits. Governorships can also do the same thing. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the air right now.
Well, I think that we're going to have to wrap up in just a second, but I think that there is definitely concern, even on people that are leaning toward nuclear. There are still concerns about, I think waste would probably be the thing that comes up the most frequently, and everybody's concerns, no matter what your concerns are, I might technically on a technical basis disagree with them. Those concerns need to be heard and addressed. I don't know that it's a technical problem or that the challenge is finding technical solutions as much as it is finding solutions that would work and make people feel comfortable and confident that those solutions will address the problem. So there's still probably work to be done there.
Yeah, because
and there is an economic question as well.
You cannot spend on poor people getting solar energy. Solar energy you can get tomorrow. Nuclear energy you have to wait 10 or 20 years to get a nuclear power plant, even those small ones.
These are great points, and I would encourage you to stick around because our panelists are going to be here for a little while longer, but we're going to get kicked out of this room in just a little bit. So I really appreciate your enthusiasm, and hope you do stick around because we do have to have these conversations. So I wanted to turn this over to Sarah just to give a closing note, and thank you so much for all the wonderful questions that you offered.